Hello guys, Flanker here. Today is another great day for Ashes of Creation players, and the reason for this is the news that many of us have been waiting for. Intrepid has published an article about the upcoming changes to the Gatherable spawning system and surveying. In this video, we'll take a detailed look at these changes and how they will affect the gameplay in future. Before we begin, don't forget that your like and subscription are the best ways to support the channel. As usual, shout out to my Twitch subs and YouTube sponsors. Since many elements of the artisan skill system have been in a placeholder state, a large number of players have been eagerly waiting for things to finally change. Many of you have shared thoughts on gatherables with fixed locations and predictable timers, and we recognize the desire to enhance artisanship in a more dynamic and rewarding way. Instead of quick fixes, we have decided to accelerate the development of some of our outstanding key surveying and gatherable spawning system features that not only improves the Alpha 2 experience, but also aligns with our long-term vision for the game's launch. The changes are expected to be implemented across several build updates of Alpha 2, specifically on April 10, April 24th, and May 8th. This means that some of them will be introduced during Phase 2, while the final update will already be a part of Phase 3. Of course, it would have been ideal if all the changes were implemented within Phase 2 to ensure there are no critical bugs or issues that could negatively impact the game at the start of Phase 3. But it is what it is, and I hope the Intrepid devs know what they're doing. Gatherable spawn clustering by rarity introduces variability in spawn times, amounts, and locations, making rare gatherables require continued exploration to acquire. Instead of static spawn locations, gatherables will dynamically respawn at new locations within larger spawning areas, meaning that when a gatherable resource is acquired, it won't return to the same location. This sounds much better than the gathering system that has been in the game until now. The logic behind these updates makes sense, and now we just have to see how it performs on live servers. Since surveying is a part of the gathering system, the new changes affect it as well. Surveying will be an essential tool in adapting to these exciting changes. In our current iteration, some testers have mastered ways to optimize gathering spawn times, which presents an opportunity to make the system more engaging for everyone. With these changes, testers will be able to utilize a new surveying item to discover the general location of specific gatherables and find rarer instances of them. I'm curious about the phrase regarding a new surveying item. At first I thought it might refer to surveying pylons, but those are already in the game, though I'm not sure whether they actually provide a buff to gathering stats after use at this point. Since I have access to the PTR server, I expect to find out more details soon and share them with you. Also, feel free to ask any questions about the upcoming updates in the comments or on my Discord server, where I actively chat with viewers. Testers will also be able to gain information about gatherables that are waiting to respawn, giving them the opportunity to contest these respawn areas. This evolution of the system strives to encourage continued exploration with surveying, increasing friction in highly sought after areas over time. That's another interesting insight, and I'm curious to see how this will work on live servers, especially the ability to get information about resources that are about to respawn. PvP, crowd control, and guild war declarations immediately come to mind when thinking about contesting valuable resources. The only method that likely won't be used often is PK, as the consequences of going corrupt are too harsh at this point. Artisanship service multitagging will ensure that gatherables will appear in logical, immersive locations such as weeping willows near riverbanks and minerals like copper in caves, while still maintaining randomness and rewarding exploration. Gatherable spawn clusters use a weight system to inform their chance to spawn at their viable tagged locations. This means that players can learn the locations in which certain gatherables have a higher or lower chance to spawn, but it will still allow encountering eureka moments. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, in a perfect world, gathering should obviously encourage exploration. In fact, this was exactly the case at the very beginning of Alpha 2, when players first entered the world of Verra, knowing little to nothing about where to find specific resources. Of course, over time, various databases with routes and spawn locations appeared, and there is no way to completely prevent that. But at the same time, this is a factor that must be considered when developing one of the core game systems, and gathering definitely falls into this category. So I guess we all hope the new updates will make this activity more diverse and rewarding. In addition to all of these gathering system improvements, processing stations will give players the flexibility to choose the size of the job they want to process rather than being restricted to set batch sizes. Oh my god, finally. As someone who has done a lot of processing, there is nothing more annoying than placing an order to process 100 resources, getting a rare proc on one of them, and then being unable to process the whole batch further. No joke, I literally stopped using processing gear because of this, and I hope that after these updates, it will finally be the time to start using it again. Processing recipes will also allow mixing and matching different rarity gatherables similar to crafting. Those who have ever had to craft molds or food, for example, are probably wiping away tears of joy right now. Gathering tools will be converted into equipable items like bags and artisanship gear. There are multiple reasons why this is a great change. First of all, being able to trade tools creates a new market niche, and considering that each player may need up to 5 types of gathering tools, this niche will be fairly large. Secondly, this potentially saves players from having to gather resources themselves or travel to a distant node just to craft their tools. Finally, it allows players to own multiple tools for a specific gathering skill with different perks, giving them the flexibility to choose the most appropriate one for a specific situation. We're also refining how gatherable rarity impacts crafted item stats, ensuring gatherable rarity feels more meaningful. Regarding this change, Intrepid hasn't provided any specific details, so we'll most likely find out more once it's tested on the PTR server. And I'm curious, are you guys happy with these updates, or do you think there are still issues with the artisan skills that Intrepid hasn't addressed? Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. If this video was interesting, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I am Flanker, and I'll see you soon.